on private or for members only. So I have to make it available to everybody. That's what it is. So turn visibility public, publish. Now watch this, guys. Watch this, guys. Now we should be able to do it. I'm streaming your stream. Oh, you are? Hey, well, go comment real quick. Go comment on this video. So you got to comment picks. Those picks right there. That's screwdrivers, right? Mini screwdrivers, or the icon flashlight. Keyword filter, picks. Happy Saturday, FM family.
Oh, hey, nobody said that my mic was off. Damn it.
Happy Saturday, Wrenchin.
All right. Sorry for that, folks. All right. Yeah. So Fluffy's doing his tool giveaway. And I know between me and Fluffy, we have a lot of shared members. I didn't know he was going to do this at 8 o'clock. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Is this
and I'm going to let you guys participate in that live giveaway. I put up into the chat. I'll put it again.
Alrighty.
So you
Here
see
we go. First one, picks.
Go to that video and leave a comment for flashlight, picks, or screwdriver.
There we go. Now we're talking.
And you
got
could
10
be
comments.
a winner.
Y'all ready?
You do have to be a member of Fluffy's channel in order
Hey,
to be a participant in that.
What do we got? Click it, motherfucker. Fred. Oh, Fred's not in.
Good job,
here,
Fred.
I'll have to reply to him. So Fred got the.
Fred got the picks
things right there. So he got the picks. Next, we're gonna do the screwdrivers. All right. I'm just gonna use screw because we like to screw. Congrats, Fred. Absolutely. We're gonna repaste this.
You don't believe how many people in the comments made screwdriver 2 words.
I'm gonna go screw because I wasn't very specific on screwdriver or screwdriver. Continue. Got 9 comments. All right, y'all ready? Nice. How to? I worked 3 days and I'm already. Damn, must be nice, bro. I only hit 20-something hours. Glow. Hey, glow. That's what's up. What's up, Turbo? Nice. How many in the comments spelled screwdriver as 2 words? I have no idea. Let's see. 1, 2, 3.
I was just guessing. I was just guessing people did that.
Only 5 people. Only 5 people spelled it as 2 words. All right, next we're gonna do the flashlight. So again, I'm gonna do flash. So we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Everybody wants that flashlight.
15.
I've seen that flashlight in action too.
All right.
That thing takes a fall
Go back to this.
any bigger than 2 feet. Ooh, it's game over. A lot of my loot techs have already broken that flashlight. It does not like to be dropped, especially when you leave it on a car, up on a lift.
Y'all saw that? I almost put
it falls off.
Spanish. 15. All right, y'all ready? You want that flashlight? Can I get a drum roll, please? Somebody comment in the comments. Drums for the flashlight.
There we go.
Flashlight.
Drum roll. Hurry it up, Fluff.
Flashlight. Drum rolls. Emojis. We ready? I got you. Shamanium. All right, Glow hit it. Shannon Dickinson. Is
Good
he
job,
here?
Shannon.
No, he's not here. Whoa, Shannon. Hell yeah, Shannon. Wait, who won the screwdrivers? What do you mean who won? Bro, were you not here? You won, dog. You won the screwdrivers. No BS. No bullshit. All right, guys. Let me see here. I need y'all to go to this stream now. Copy. I'm gonna paste Baja's. Because Baja. The fuck did I just do? Baja's live right now, and I'm cutting into his time on accident. Again, I apologize. Congratulations to all the winners. Oh, hell yeah. All right. Glow, we'll set up a meet time. And then I don't know if y'all saw, but we do got new magnets. And Shannon, just because Shannon's always early on the jump, he always wants to buy them. It's that puro is not.
I got a mosquito in
green.
here.
So puro FM fam, just like y'all see up here in the corner right there. That's basically what this is.
There we go. Okay, they're trickling in now.
Shannon, I'll be sending that out to you.
What's up, Garage Monkey?
Fred, I wish I was going to Dallas soon, but I'm not. So I'll be sending that out to you. And then Glow will Glow, we'll go have lunch one of these days. All right. So go to Baja stream. No problem. Congrats. Oh, okay. Yeah. Go to Baja stream. I think I already put it in there. And we'll catch y'all Tuesday. Yeah, we'll see Tuesday. Laters, guys.
All right. We're back. All right. Congratulations if you're a winner on that stream. Always tune into Fluffy's channels and be a member, because about every other month he has a big plethora of tools. He goes out with his YouTube money and he grabs some tools and he gives it back to the members who participate. Same here too. Be a member. It's $1. You get into the drawings, and we have a monthly on this channel here. We do have a monthly drawing. So no matter what, at least once a month, there is going to be a drawing for members who are participating in the Saturday stream when I have it. So that'll be the last Saturday of the month. But there's also the surprise drawings that can happen. So if we get 10 members of the channel up in the stream, then I will just go ahead and do a drawing just for having the participation of members participating here in the stream. And of course, the more members that we have in the stream, the bigger the prize will be. That is kind of the way I'm going to go with it, because before I was doing the tool drawing and I was like, they're too small. I was only able to do like maybe like $15-$20 items. And then I was like, oh, it's kind of like the same people again and again and again. So I changed it up a little bit to try and entice people to get in here a little bit. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. That is New Level Auto. All right, so let's go ahead and get this show on the road. We're going to be talking about, are you getting scammed when you go to a garage? Okay, all you want is an oil change. You just want your damn oil changed, and you get this big dog and pony show as soon as you pull your car in. They want to know your name. They want to make a little bit of small talk. They want to talk about how long you had the car. You know, maybe you want to get one of these engine cleaners. What's an engine cleaner? I don't know. That it's like you think it's like it must be some snake oil you want to put in my car. Hey, you want some ethanol stabilizer? I got a full tank of gas. You don't put ethanol in there. Like, it's ethanol stabilizer. It helps out with the gas you buy from your gas station. You saying I buy bad gas? I think confuses people. Then you try and look at it and be like, oh, you've never been here before. Have you been somewhere else? Oh, you might need a tune-up. Bro, just change my damn oil. I've seen customers start arguments at the front counter with an advisor. And it can get pretty hairy. And I've literally seen people who just been like, I'll never come here again. They keep trying to sell me stuff and sell me stuff and sell me stuff. Yeah, it's that's just that those are just hard words to hear. And I make a living out of selling recommendations to people. Truthfully, I work in a dealership and my job is to look over every vehicle, whether the customer says not to. I still have to look at it. I have to document what I looked at. I have to take tire measurements. I have to take brake measurements. I have to record them into the system. And now we have to take videos of the cars. We have to video everything that we see on the car, and those videos get saved. We're doing that for liability. Okay. I just want to go on a small little tangent right here before we get into the bigger message of what this is. So, the reason why you get an inspection, no matter what you say, you can be blue in the face saying, don't document anything on my car. Don't you measure tires? Don't you put air in my tires? Don't you do anything?" That message will always fall on deaf ears. Okay. They might tell you a white lie and say they're not going to do it, but they're going to do it anyways. And they're going to do it because of insurance reasons, because of liability. Because all it took was one instance where somebody came in and said, "I don't want you to look at my car. I don't want you to do a multi point. I don't want you to do this and do it. Just change the damn oil." And they changed the damn oil and the car left. And a couple weeks later, that car's in a ditch or that car got into an accident. And the insurance company doesn't want to pay the claim, right? Because they see, like, "Oh, you were just in a garage and your car didn't stop because, you know, you got bald tires and you have no brakes. Didn't you know that?" "No, I didn't know that. Nobody told me that." And they go to the garage. "Hey, can we see the work order?" They'll sue for the work order and they'll get it. And then the shop will be like, "Oh, we didn't document anything. He said he didn't want it. He declined the multi-point." And they'll be like, "Well, it's your responsibility as a garage to let them know what you saw." And now that garage is being sued by the insurance company. And that garage could fight it. They really could. They could fight it and they might win. And you might be right now on your keyboard trying to type a comment or you're talking to the screen like that'll never happen. It will. Garages will just straight up settle because they know that the cost of hiring a lawyer, going through litigation, going to trial is significantly more expensive than fighting that claim out. So that's why I've seen it where, like, if a tech isn't doing a multi-point and they keep getting told, like, "Hey, you're not doing multi-points on cars," they'll start sending you home, and then eventually they'll let you go. They take it seriously now. Even even at the garage that I'm at right now, we have to write the dot code for the manufacturer date on the tires. So if you look at your dot code, you got a big long string of numbers, and if you look at the last four numbers, that breaks down the week that the tire was made of that year. So you'll see, like, let's make up a number like 1023. That means it was the 10th week of 2023 that tire was manufactured. We have to even document that. And we even have an internal policy in my shop that says if the tire is more than 5 years old, based on that dot code, you need to recommend tires. Yes, the shop wants to make money on a sale for selling tires, but the shop is also doing everything that they can not to get sued. That's that's what it is. And it has happened. And it's already happened to a couple of garages in this town. We stay in touch with other garages. So we just our shop just this year, we had a big meeting. They got all the techs together, mandatory meeting. Everybody had to sign in and they documented it. And the GM and the service manager came out and they were saying, like, "Hey, there was one of the dealerships in town. They're in litigation because one of their techs didn't do a proper multi-point, didn't write down the dot codes on the tires, and that customer got into an accident, and now the insurance company is going after the shop." So they're settling. They're settling an undisclosed amount. We don't know what kind of accident it was. We don't know if anybody got hurt, but they made a point. They just said, we're going to start officially writing people up for not doing this, and your first warning is we're going to send you home for the day, and your second warning is we're going to send you home for 3 days, and then your last warning is we're going to decide whether to keep you or not. So they got a little scared and they put the pressure on us. We get annoyed by that as technicians because that's just more paperwork and documentation to do. Uh, Now I've kind of gotten a good muscle memory for it now, and I'm maybe losing an extra minute on these inspections. And generally, when I'm doing a multi-point, I could spend anywhere from 5 minutes to 40 minutes on a multi-point. Then that sounds crazy, right? Like when you're getting paid flag, like you get paid on job completion, but you don't get paid to do a multi-point. And Joe, you're saying that you spend 40 minutes on a multi-point? Yeah. Yeah, it sucks because you bring in your ragged out car. Okay, you got your 1999 Subaru Outback that's had 10 owners. Okay, and it looks like it's been burned, kicked to death, resurrected. And I find like it's got oil leaks, it needs tires, it needs brakes. You got a control arm that's about to fall off. Not to mention that it's 200,000 miles. Maybe it needs a timing belt. Uh, Radiator hose, like your car's 20 years old and you got factory radiator hoses. I got to line item all that stuff out. It's getting crazy. And I've seen it to where some garages now, there are a couple of garages in my town right now. They will not take a car that is more than 10 years old or 100,000 miles old if they've never seen you before. They're getting to that point because these insurance companies are going after garages, and it's absolutely ridiculous that this can happen. And the fact that they can just you can't even fight it because you'll financially go broke fighting it. And you can't even sue the insurance company back for damages. So if it's a $250,000 lawsuit, what do? You just pay the deductible on your insurance and be like, my deductible's $2,000, just let it go. Because now you're wasting all your money on a lawyer trying to fight back, and you're a $10 company going against a $1 billion company that has hundreds of thousands of dollars of lawyers on retainer. It's crazy. But so upsells, that is one of the reasons why. I guess we'll jump into that now. Whoa, we got a lot of comment here. Let's go ahead and check out this. Lots of comments. What's going on? If it's a dealership, yes, dealerships will push recommendations and services the most. It is, to be honest, it's their bread and butter. Services. It's true. Not true. Sounds like one encounters at a loop cap. Yep. People don't understand what direct injection has done to cars. That's a fair point. I posted up a short video showing a car that had 80,000 miles and the intake valves were causing a rando misfire. And the customer had actually, we told the customer, we're like, we know that you have good plugs. Okay. You said you got the spark plugs replaced. I pulled one of them out and it didn't look bad. And it was a Subaru brand and it's the correct part number. More than likely, we told him, he says, the cheapest way out of this diagnosis is we recommend doing a top engine cleaner and letting us reassess it. And they threw a hissy fit. They says, no, 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 no. And they had a third party warranty and they got their third party warranty involved. And the third party warrant, we talked to the third party warranty. We said, like, we don't see anything wrong with this. This is just classic. This is just a classic gummed up intake valves from Carbon. We kind of have an idea what it looks like just by looking at the throttle body plate. So the insurance talked to the customer and then talked to the advisor, and there was this agreement. And the agreement was the customer would pay for repair. How does it go down? This is kind of confusing how it goes down. The insurance company wanted the intake manifold pulled off so that they could see the valves, and they wanted to come and take pictures and assess the situation for damage. But if they ruled that there was nothing there that applied to this, then the customer was on the hook for removing the intake manifold. Then that's like a 3-hour job plus parts for new gaskets. And here we're trying to recommend a $150 top engine cleaning service. So what came about of it was uh customer had to pay for that repair, and then they bought the top engine cleaner, and I'll be damned, it was fixed. And now the customer's all hissy pissy trying to say that, oh, it was bad intake gaskets because those are brand new. It's like, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Because that doesn't make sense. Like you have an individual intake gasket for every single runner, and you're throwing a P04 300 for a rando misfire? No, you would have had a single cylinder problem, and your vacuum on your intake manifold was good. You didn't have a problem. Okay, if a shop has a service advisor, just get back to the car and drive away. Some people feel like that, man. They really do, because the when a the reason why we have service advisors at some garages and not others. So, if you don't have anybody at the front counter, then most likely you're talking directly to the mechanic that runs the shop, and it's going to be one on one. But now you have an advisor installed. You have an advisor there at the front counter, and the idea of having an advisor on the front counter, the plan behind it is that you can take in more customers at one time. You keep the mechanic busy. The mechanic stays in his lane. He does his inspections. He does his repairs. And now you have the advisor working the front counter, hustling and bustling all your paperwork, checking customers in and out, taking payment. So that way, instead of doing like maybe 2 or 3 cars a day, now maybe you can do 10 cars a day. So you got to have a higher volume to pay for that extra help and then still make a profit. And it works in some situations and it doesn't work in other situations. I've seen some shops where they have just one person running the front counter and there's 5 techs in the back. Where I'm at, we have 4 main advisors. We have one chief advisor. So they're like a cat herder. In case one of the advisors gets in a pinch or a bind, they can intercept. So they're not directly taking customers, they're just taking care of them. And then there's an express person. So total of 6 people. But what I've seen can happen in a situation is a mechanic will go through the multi-point and say, like, the tires are good, maybe the rear brakes, they got 5 millimeters on them. So hey, next oil service, you should start looking at getting your brake pads replaced. And it'll make that little note on there. Cabin air filter's good, engine air filter's good, wiper blades are good. You had a tune up last year. So everything's spick and span. So let's submit it. The advisor goes, okay, well, see what I can do with these brakes. And they'll tell the customer. And I've heard the presentation goes like, so, your brakes are at the last, they'll say like 30%. Like you can go a little bit longer, but it can be a convenience for getting them done ahead of time. And a lot of customers are okay with that. And then they have a second check sheet that they're run, and their services that the shop wants the advisor to make sure that every customer knows about. Okay. It's just like when you go through the McDonald's drive through. Remember, they used to say, do you want that supersized? Remember, they had to say that. They had to say that. Do you want that supersized? No matter what you get, you could ask for just a damn cheeseburger and no value meal. And they'd be like, you want that supersized? There's a reason why they can't do that now, but it's kind of stupid. But every every place has a gimmick in order to try and just ask if you want to spend more money. So they'll bring that up. You're like, oh, we have a fuel stabilizer, or when was the last time you had an alignment? They'll make suggestions like that. And the advisor's job is to make small talk with the customer and find out what's been going on with their vehicle. So the whole the whole ambiance of that is you're selling preventative maintenance. You're selling services that can prevent catastrophic damage. Now, some people just honestly want to drive their cars into the ground. And to those people, I salute you. Just don't take me out with you. Okay. I get that. But with today's advanced vehicles, we have to start looking at um, maybe replacing something before it takes something else out. PCV valves, for example. And this sucks because some manufacturers have taken that simple little valve that used to be screwed into the short block and they've integrated into a major assembly like a valve cover. So they took a $40 part and now it's a $300 part and it's a $400 job to replace it. It's stupid. And these PCV valves are killing our engines. So because back in my day, like I would tell when people would get a tune up, I would say, you should get your PC valve replaced. Maybe, and I would explain what it does, and you go, "Oh yeah, that sounds like a great thing." And be like, "I'm there." I was like, "I'm gonna make like $1 installing it. Just buy the damn part because I know it does benefit for the engine. It does benefit for everything. Your PCV valve, for some of you don't know, it's a crankcase ventilator. There's always going to be a little bit of pressure inside that short block, okay, and that pressure has to be relieved. And it just has a little vent valve where it can let that little pressure trickle out. Okay. Well, over time, okay, the oil vapors start clogging it up and it gets a little sticky. Sometimes it can stick open, sometimes it can stick closed. And when it sticks closed, now you have that pressure building and building and building and building. And it'll start that's when engines start getting leaks from every seal. Hey, they come out the crankshaft, they come out the valve covers, they come out the cam carriers, the head gaskets, and you're like, holy crap, this thing's leaking from every damn gasket and seal. Well, you probably got a stuck PCV. That's a classic situation that happens. Check out Fluffy here. I tell Chevy, just change my oil. I'm only here for warranty documentation. Yes. Oh, that sucks too. Fluffy, thank you for that $10. Folks, I that is a very true statement. Um when it comes to oil changes, and I'm working on a warranty special right now. I'm trying to get all my ducks in a row for that one. But I'll just kind of throw a little teaser out there. if you're if you have a vehicle that has any type of warranty on it, third party warranty, extended powertrain, manufacturer warranty, you need to do one of two things. You either need to go to a dealership and get your oil changed so it's properly documented in their system, okay? Or you need to retain the documentation of your oil changes, okay? And just so you know, those little receipt papers that you get, that's thermal paper. Thermal paper. Okay. The printer that spits out that receipt paper, there's no ink in there. Okay. That paper turns black when it reacts to heat. So if you take that receipt and you're like, I'm going to throw it in a scrapbook, I'm going to keep it in my glove box, it's eventually just going to go all black. All right. Give it about 6 months to a year. It'll turn all black. Shoot, you could put it in your pant pocket and fart on it and it'll turn it black. That's a fun experiment. So take photos. It's the digital age. Everybody's dang phone has a camera on it. So take pictures of that, save it, put it in a safe folder somewhere so you can document it. If you're changing your own oil, you got to keep the receipt of where you got the oil from. And I've seen someone get screwed on this really bad, really bad. Okay. So their engine is 4.5 quarts. And the oil that they're buying is in gallon jugs, 4 quarts to 1 gallon. So When you do an oil change, you do that first oil change, you buy 2 gallons. Okay? And then what are you left with in that second jug? About 3 quarts. So when you have your next oil change, how many gallons of oil you gonna buy? 1, because you had something left over. And that person did that. And that made sense to the person. But what did the warranty company say? Hey, you're not putting enough oil in your oil changes. They won. That argument won. That was complete BS. I knew exactly in my head what the customer was doing, but that third party warranty was like, we're not going to pay this claim because that person says they're changing their oil. And these receipts show that, they're only putting 4 quarts of oil and a 4.5 quart engine. So they're shorting the engine. So it had oil starvation due to improper maintenance. That won. And that was a really, even I was kind of pissed off when I heard the result of that. I was like, that's not fair because I know exactly what that customer was doing. They're buying in bulk. So, like, if you buy a drum of oil in your garage, you buy 30 gallons of oil and you want to do oil changes, they ain't going to float. They want to see quarts on the receipt. They want to see the exact amount of quarts on the receipt. So keep those receipts and do it that way. That was a really, really sad story. There are a lot of times your oil changes, they're documented on a Carfax report. Do not trust that garage to share their information with Carfax. Okay. Some major franchises like Firestone and Valvoline, that will go there every time your car goes there for a visit, they'll document it on a Carfax. But some of these other shops that are independently owned, Midas, Jiffy Lube, Take Five, nope, they don't have to. And if the franchisor that owns those Firestones in that area, if they don't want to pay to upload that information, they don't have to. So it's a gamble. Keep your receipts. Let's break down chat. It's a liability issue. Yeah, that's why we have to make our recommendations. That's why we have to do our multi-points. Even if I owned an independent garage, if tomorrow I'd have said that I was going to walk out of my shop and open up my own garage and somebody was just coming in saying like, "Yeah, I bought these control arms online. Can you put them on?" I'm still going to look at their car and I'm still going to make the recommendations. And here's another caveat to this recommendation thing too, is you can't just tell the person what they need. You also have to give them a estimate. Because this this has happened. You go up and you're like, sir, you need ball joints. I don't want anything on my car. Don't tell me anything about it. I just do the oil change. Let me get out of here. Okay. They do the oil change. They let him get out of here. Next thing you know, his strut pops off, his control arm gets into an accident, come back. Well, why do you want to sue my garage? We told you needed ball joints. Well, I didn't know it was only going to cost me $80. If you would have told me it was $80, I would have just let you do it. Like you mofo. And now I got to pay a $3,000 claim on your car to fix it because you're an a-hole. So yeah, it puts us in a bad situation. Now, if the mechanic wants to sell someone on something, I think they should probably put a little faith in the tech. Yes. And speaking of faith on the tech, customers, I know you're intelligent people, and I know you know things about cars, but you bring your car to our garages, our mechanics garages, to work on them. You chose to come to our establishment, so that means that you somehow vetted us. I would expect that. I would expect that if you chose to go somewhere, there was something in your mind that said this is a trustworthy place. Whether you looked it up on a Google, a Yelp, or you just said, "Oh, it's got that seal of certification." They must hire good people. Express that faith to that mechanic and go have a seat in the fucking lobby. Do not stand outside my stall and watch me work. I have had customers just be like this, filming me. It it just annoys me. Okay. I record myself and I'll put it up on the YouTube stream so you can watch it there. But I mean, like, they're getting down and they're looking on, and I've walked over and be like, "Do you want to look under your car or something?" Oh no, I just want to make sure you don't break anything. Okay, well, and I've done like that. I've gone it just like this. I'm like, okay, well, I'm sorry you don't trust me. Let me go ahead and get your car off the lift right now, and I'll let you pick anybody else in the shop that you trust to work on your car. That is how I handled every single situation. It's happened about 3 times that I can think up off the top of my head. One was a complete prick, and the manager threw them out of the shop. The other 2 people were just like, "Oh," I was like, "I just don't want you to hurt anything, it's my baby." Okay, well then if it's your baby, you go learn how to work on cars and you go buy all the fucking tools and you go do your own goddamn work. Okay? Or you put the faith in me and trust that I'm going to do it correctly. Now I'm okay after I'm done checking out the car and it goes back to the service drive. If you want to check your oil and if you want to get your little pen gauge out of the glove box and make sure I topped off the tires and then wipe off your witness marks on the tires to make sure that I rotate them because I know they're there. I see them. You think you're fucking clever. Okay. I see those little chalk lines and I see the little one off colored cap. You got 3 green caps and 1 black cap. I know what you did. I do my job correctly. And no mechanic in their right mind is going to cheat somebody to lose their career like that. I mean, do you know how much I get paid to do a tire rotation? I make $3 out of the entire sale of the tire rotation. A tire rotation at our garage is $30. And out of that $30, I get paid $3. Do I want to get sent home for the day over $3? No. Okay. And if if you're a mechanic and you're listening to this and you've ever kind of just like let somebody's rotation go, they're like, oh, they're brand new tires. Why does he need a rotation? I'm just gonna let it go. Sir or madam, please don't do that. Don't get into that mindset because once you do it once, you'll do it again. And you'll do it again and you'll do it again and you'll do it again. And the one time you get caught, you will get the biggest fucking ass chewing of your life. And if you don't beg for mercy and apologize or whatever you have to do to keep your job, that might be your last day. Because big shops that I work in, they don't allow that nonsense to happen. Maybe a smaller shop might be like, oh, they're like, hey, like, but a big shop like mine, they'll treat you as scum. They honestly will. I'm not doing my multi-point because you think we are trying to scam you. Customers don't realize they can decline all work. We don't force you to buy it. That's a great point, Fluffy. Okay. You're letting us waste our time. That's fine. It's part of our production. It's part of our job. It's part of keeping our insurance costs down. Let us do our documentation of your vehicle. If you don't want anything at the end of it, just say like, I'm still going to express my original decision. I would like to decline all services. Thank you. I will take this list of recommendations and I will throw it away for you. That's all you got to do as a customer. You walk in, you don't have to throw a show about it. Okay? Everyone's looking at you. Great. You got your attention. No, just walk in, take your seat in the lobby, have your cup of coffee, check your Instagram, check your mail, watch your news. In about 30, 40 minutes, your car will come right back up because all you wanted was an oil change. You'll get your courtesy car wash if you have that available. They'll go over the recommendations and then you can say no and leave. Okay. And I have seen customers where we have recommended a cabin filter that had a stack of crap on it this big. It's still there. Still there a year later. They don't care. They like smelling death, I guess. But we have to say, would you like a cabin air filter this time? Because if depending on the service, depending on the the computer program that you have, we we know what we recommended last one versus what we're going to recommend now. So there's red tags. So if we recommended ball joints last service, then we're going to recommend them again and again and again until you get them replaced somewhere. So that's at least beneficial. To be fair, it goes both ways. There won't be any records. Well, in our program, we have an extensive record that goes back 20 years. Like we're paying for massive archives. We Xerox all hard paperwork. So even though our recommendations now are digitized on this new system that we've been using for a while, the multi points are digitized and it goes into a cloud and it stays in the cloud infinitely. They still take the hard copy because there could be a scribbled on note from the technician that maybe didn't transfer into the digital system. They'll put those in banker boxes and then another company comes and picks them up and they scan them all in. So if there was ever a situation with a customer, whether like the insurance is coming to us or the customer is coming to us, whatever the situation is, we'll pull all the digital stuff down and then we'll pull the Xeroxes down. Because there's been times when uh, a recommendation should have been made, and the tech in his head saying like, "No, I made that recommendation, man. Like I told that person that oil leak was bad, and they needed to get their valve covers resealed, their timing chain cover resealed, their oil pan resealed, and he only got 3 or 4 of those things put in. But he made his little tick marks on the hard copy, so that helps out. I didn't know this. Good to know. Hey, you're welcome, Mrs. Wonders. My multi-point saved me on multiple occasions. Yes. Same here, Fluffy. I've had one, and in the 10 years I've been doing this, I've had one situation that I knew about. I had confirmation from a manager that the vehicle that I looked at was uh was not going to trial, but it was in litigation because I looked at the car over a year ago and they didn't tell me exactly what had happened with the customer or the vehicle, but there was somebody in the office that I've never seen before, and then my general manager was there, my service manager was there, and they were asking me very specific questions about everything that I wrote on the multi-point and the customer's concern. That line is on the work order, and the story that I wrote with my diagnosis. So they were asking me very specific questions about it. And after I was dismissed out of there, I kind of approached my service manager at the end of the day before he was leaving. I said, like, that was like a really weird meeting. I said, now that everybody's gone, like, what's going on? He's like, oh, that they're trying to sue us. Like, that was a year ago. And now they're trying to sue us. He's like, you covered your shit well. There's no problem with it. Like, this is going to go through 1 or 2 days of litigation, and then the lawyer for the customer is probably going to tell them that you're going to spend too much money trying to fight this. But they wanted to make sure that I knew what was going on because as a mechanic, every piece of paperwork you fill out, at least where I work, every piece of paperwork that I fill out is a legal binding document. So if I lie on a work order and if I put the wrong numbers, I can be held liable for it. Just like for some of us that are state inspectors, they go in, you're like, man, I'm tired of doing state inspections. This car only has 30,000 miles on it. It's 5 years old, 30,000 miles. Man, this thing passes state. Check, 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 check. You get your $2, you kick it out, you put it into the computer. 2 months down the road, that car's in an accident. Like, oh, by the way, that thing had a kink brake line. That's weird. Wouldn't that have turned up if you would have test driven the vehicle, sir? Uh, it shows that your car checked in at 8:30 in the morning and it checked out at 8:45. How fast does a state inspection take you? Uh, you're fucked. That's happened to a couple of people. And when you become a state inspector, that means that like that ain't no smack on the wrist. If your state inspection, if you pencil whip your state inspection, somebody gets hurt, that can come back on you with jail time. It's not going to be something petty where they say, "Oh, you're not allowed to be the state inspector. Sucks to be you." No, it'll be like you're going to go to trial, and you might have to pay a fine, or you might get locked up. Whatever they decide to do with you at that time, maybe they make an example of you. Now, I know that some states are rewriting their state inspection rules, and they're going to start getting rid of state inspections. That's another discussion. Though multi-points take some time, but hey, sometimes customers will surprise you and start knocking out needed repairs. That's a good point, Fluffy. It really is. I've I've spent maybe 30, 40 minutes getting quotes, typing everything into the system. But even though that's a big list of like 10, 20 items, I'll still put my side note on the work order and say safety. I'll like to the advisor, hey, safety items first, man. I know he's got these things, but just let him know. Be like, bro, you need tires and brakes. Your tires are balding, your brakes are shot. Like, I know we gave you a big list, but hey, safety first, dude. And then like we'll start taking little bites out of these oil leaks, this exhaust leak. I'm like, that stuff is nothing compared to like the safety of you. And then and it's turned right around there. I was like, oh man, it's like no one's ever looked at my car like that. Yeah, let's do tires and brakes today. And like let me ask my parents if I can get some help. And then the parent shows up and goes, fix my boy's car. Like he's going to college. There's stories like that, and I've had a few of them. I got videos up of one where the lady, she just came in for a routine oil change, and she said, "Hey, can you check and see how bad that oil leak's getting? Because you said we should keep an eye on it." Okay, I've been telling her for a year. "Hey, you got a bit of a seep. You got a bit of a seep. We should just watch it. Let's clean it and watch it and see how bad it gets." And then one day I used my video and I put it up there. I'm like, "Ma'am," I was like, you know, it's dripping on your exhaust now. Okay, it's no longer a seep. This is a active leak. You should do something about it. And that was a head gasket issue at 150,000 miles. So she's like, okay, well, let's go ahead and do the whole thing then. That was 20 hours. That was a 20-hour job. I was very happy to get it. And then then she was like, oh, by the way, she's like, car's just been sounding a little bit loud. Can you check that out too? And it's been a little bit bumpy. So I explained to her, says, well, your car's like 15 years old. So all the bushings are rotten and shot. You have factory struts. And she's like, yeah, let's make it like new. Like, what would it cost to make my car like I just bought it? It was like $12,000. Okay. She's like, they don't make this color anymore. Like, are you serious? It's going to take me like 2 days to quote this. So I'll get back to you. And it did. It like I wrote a list and just kind of doing it between other cars. It took a couple of days to source all the parts, come up with all the labor time because like I cut her a huge deal and I said, listen, I was like, if your car is going to be, if you're going to want to do all this, I'm definitely going to cut you a labor deal because if we do everything individually, this is like a $20,000 job. But if you're just going to leave your car here for about 3 weeks and just let me take little bites out of it, because if the engine's out and you want your steering rack replaced, I mean, like I could take half the labor off of that because there's a lot of things that have to be taken out of the way. Like you want engine mounts, your engine's out already. I'll just put them on, man. like stuff like that. So there's a lot of compounding work that I did because she wanted like front and rear hubs, and I'm like, well, like I'm gonna have your tires off and your all your suspension stuff kind of disconnected. Like I'm doing struts, so yeah, everything kind of got half off labor. Ended up being total about a 39-hour ticket. But then we gave her a dramatic reduced labor rate too, for because I was like, there's a lot of money that was made off of parts. So we helped her out a lot. So if you're in a situation where you're getting you get a lot of recommendations on your car for oil leaks and suspension problems and whatnot, straight up ask them, be like, yo, if I like we do all this, can and I leave it here for like a couple of weeks and you put me in a loaner. Oh, it's like you're not really asking for discounts, but you got to ask this specific thing. Is there any overlapping labor? That's very important. Ask what is overlapping labor. Some advisors will do that for you ahead of time, and others will just let you fall for the trap. And that kind of sucks. It's like I call out advisors all the time when I tell a customer they need valve covers and spark plugs. Like, motherfuckers, like, you wrote that up as you're going to charge them 3 hours for valve covers and 3 hours for a tune up. You fucking snake. No. Go back to that customer and tell them, like, hey, we'll do the valve covers for 3 hours of labor. And then it's like, I'll ask for just like a little bit for that time that I'm going to take to wrench out some spark plugs. Because, on some of these spark plugs, it could be a little tricky, but I'll be like 1 hour on spark plugs because I'm already taking your covers off. I've already taken all the garbage off the side of the engine to do this. So 1 hour labor, call it fair. You made a little bit of money. And then tell that, walk that customer through, be like, well, we can use these 2 remaining hours to take care of that ball joint. That's how you do it. So we got off. You guys got me off topic a little bit here, but still making some good points. You get paid flat rate. Yes, yes, I get paid flat rate job completion. So if I don't get the job done, I don't get paid. That's why I went into work today, is because I had to put an engine back in a car, and I want to have 50 hours a week. I should be making 50 hours by Friday, but I didn't. So I got to go in on my Saturday, which is my scheduled day off, and put that engine in so I can get my hours. Because my paycheck looks really crappy with only 40 hours on it. My local Subaru dealer won't look at any 10 years or older. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. There are some shops that are starting to make these standards now where they're saying if you got a car with so many miles on it and it's so old, sometimes they don't even want you in the shop. Okay. And they're doing that just for the fact that they don't want to be held liable for missing something. Or maybe because the fact that if they do allow it in the shop, they have to document everything that they see, and they have to build a quote for it, and they have to present that quote to you, and you have to formally decline it by signing it. That could take a lot of time. Like if you bring in a shitty piece of car, all right, with the unibody's rusting out, tires are falling off, like it's fine for you. Well, you take it to them, they're just going, I can fix 3 other cars by the time I just finish writing up the multi-point on this thing. Yeah, they'll just say like, "You're not worth it, man. Go away. You're just not worth it." Ah, yes, GDI doesn't play well. Yes. So for some of you that don't know what that is, that's gas direct injection. So that means that your spark plugs are no longer sitting in the intake manifold, they're sitting inside the cylinders. Now, that's great for a lot of reasons. Get more power, you get better fuel control, you get better miles per gallon. I mean, you can squeeze a lot of power out of a little tiny engine now. Okay. The other style was called port injected. And the advantage to that one was that the gas that was being sprayed and missed out of those injectors were keeping those intake valves clean. So they were always getting like a little rinse. But now that the the injectors are inside the cylinders. Nobody's taking care of the intake valves anymore, guys. So now we have to buy this snake oil service that we call it as the top engine cleaner. Folks, the top engine cleaner works. It really does. The top engine cleaner, if you get it on a scheduled maintenance interval, it works wonders. Now, if you've avoided it for 100,000 miles, it's not going to work the first treatment. Okay? It's really not. Okay? It's kind of like if I was to not wear gloves all day at work. I'm not going to clean my hands the first time with that gritty soap. Nope. I'm going to have to grit them up, rinse them off, grit them up, rinse them off, and do it again and again and again. Okay. Now, you can't do that back to back to back with GDI with top engine cleaner services. Hell no. You'll fry your engine. You're going to have to take it low and slow. So if a customer with a car that has never had a top engine cleaner and it's a really old car or maybe has a lot of miles on it, I'll remind that advisor, hey, we're going to take extra time with this one. And I'm going to let that top engine cleaner service, I'm going to set up the flow rate on it to go at 25%. 25% so that it distributes uh it gives it time to kind of soak in and loosen up. And maybe halfway through the service I'll turn it off and then I'll drive that car around the block and I'll blow it off because I could be loosening up a lot of stuff and I don't want all that stuff to just blow out at once. So, yeah, like you have to be very educated on what your top engine service is doing. And if you're a mechanic and you're doing that in a shop, that's a really good service to make some money on. Okay. Because you, once, if you have the machine that does it, you, it's like Ronco style. You set it and come back to it later. You don't forget it, but okay, you can set it up and you could maybe go look at another car and make another upsell and then come back to that car. But high mileage one? No, I would babysit that one and I would watch it. I even hook up my wireless scan tool and I'm watching the fuel trims to make sure that this thing isn't just getting stuck rich because that'll happen. So if you're gonna do it as a DIYer, make sure you have somebody who's done one of these before to supervise it and make sure you do it right. I've even seen some people catch cars on fire with this stuff because they don't set it up correctly and it leaks and it eventually gets on the exhaust and it catches on fire. At 20,000 miles, I've taken minis apart at 20,000 miles and they look like they're 200,000 mile old engines. Um, a really good preventative too, folks, is those gas tank additives. They do work. Every dealership has a version of it. So if you're getting an oil change, buy one of those from the parts department. It's a fuel additive and it does help with keeping everything it keeps everything from getting keeps everything cleaned up. And if you actually read in some owners manuals, which one was I reading? I was reading Hyundai. Hyundai actually says in the owner's manual, hey, every oil change, you should put this product in your gas tank, but the service advisors won't push it. It's stupid. And they won't tell the customer they need it because then the customer gets upset because they go, what do you mean my $80 oil change is now 125 bucks? What the hell? Because now that dealership, now it makes it look like that oil change is more expensive than everybody else in town. Now nobody comes to them. Uh, we sell oil changes at a loss. Like we make nothing, maybe $5, and that's if somebody who makes $10 an hour does it. If I grab a car off the line and it only has an oil change on it, I get my dick smacked real hard because my boss will come up and be like, "Do you know how much I pay you?" He's like, "I just lost on that oil change double." So if I get issued a ticket and it only has an oil change on it, there like something on that ticket has to sell. There has to be something that's going to sell on that ticket. And there have been times when uh I've seen some shops where they change your pay rate based on the service that you do. That's a fucked up shop. So basically, if you're getting paid $30 an hour and you do a tune up, you're getting paid $20 an hour. And if you do an oil change, you're getting paid $15 an hour. You're getting paid at the max payout for the position of that skill. It's a fucked up shop. And they wonder why they can't keep people. But that was some bean counter's great idea to make more money. He says, "Oh, we got guys who get paid $40 an hour and they're just doing nothing but gravy work and they're killing us. We're not making any money." And we're like, "Well, we can change their pay rate based on what they do." Okay, do it. 6 months later, nobody was working there anymore. And they're left with a bunch of people who don't know how to do anything. In California, our pay system is like hourly with bonuses if your efficiency is above 85%. Moving Florida soon, I'll be real flat rate. So I'm a little nervous about it. Yeah, I've read about the California system in some shops, and it can be very, very, very nice. And it's nice steady pay, and it's nice knowing what you're gonna make at the end of the day. And I actually think that um the performance of the work that comes out of the shop is better because now that those techs aren't scavenging trying to find things, doing things too fast. They're checking their work and they're doing it right. But going to a flat rate, it's not that bad, man. It really isn't. If you can't do something, say you can't do something. That's really all it is. Some people think advisors are mechanics. Great point, Fluffy. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. Um, we call that service drive diagnostics. And us mechanics hate that crap so much because the advisor's going, this your concern sounds like this bulletin. So I'm going to write the work order line up like this so it sounds like the bulletin and the tech does the bulletin repair. Well, then the customer comes back and says, "Hey, you didn't fix my car." That makes everybody look like an asshole. And you know who it shits on the most? The mechanic. It really does. So if you're a mechanic and you think that's what's happening, you got to shut it down. You got to get clarification on it. You really do. I chewed one advisor's ass out hard, like really fucking hard, because he wrote up the concern for the customer. Says screens glitching, and there was he was trying to help. I guess he was trying to help out the customer get their radio unit warrantied out. And I'm like, dude, the customer punched their radio. They're like, it's smashed. What do you mean the screen's glitching? Did you not lean into this car and look at this radio? He's like, oh, it's just glitchy, man. It's like, we're going to take care. I was like, no, they're going to see a busted screen and they're going to bill the shop. And then the manager is going to go, why am I getting billed back $1,800 for a radio? Because it's got a smashed screen. Joe, what did you do? Did you drop it? Did you not package it back up in the box correctly? I'm going to be the one who gets interrogated. Don't pull that shit on me. I had to straighten his ass out. I'm like, that is physical damage to it. Whether his kid didn't have the seatbelt on and the dad brake checked his kid and the kid's noodle went into the screen. I don't care what happened. That customer's liable for that radio. Stand your ground. The customer will understand. Okay. But again, we're getting off topic. You guys are asking great topics or great comments, and Fluffy's chiming in very, very well. Give me some things. All right, last Fluffy thing right here. I've seen customers tip advisors for fixing their vehicles. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. I was witness to that and I was pissed off. So I did this. I had a customer, he had a 2007 Forester non-turbo. Guy loved it, 200,000 miles. And he comes back and he's like, he's like, what did you do to my engine? And I thought he was pissed off. I thought maybe something was wrong. I'm like, oh no, what's wrong? He's like, no, he's like, my car never drove like that even when I bought it brand new. He's like, this thing has pep, it has power, it steers so well now. I'm like, "Oh, God." Like, you told me to rebuild your engine, so I stripped it down to the crank. We measured everything, polished everything. It's good to go, man. You're like, you spent 7 grand. All right. I was like, you got your money's worth. He's like, God damn, I got my money's worth. I love this car and thank you. You resurrected it. It's great. So he comes back and he's got like a bottle of Johnny Walker and he hands it to the advisor. I think that was supposed to be for me, but the advisor kept it. All right. So back on track. Our upsell is a scam. Okay. Let's not start from the top, but let's just kind of get into it. Like, this is the motions of what's going in here. All right. You check in, you get your greeting. That advisor or that mechanic, whoever greets you, makes that little bit of small talk. They want to get to know you. They review what they did last time. They review what you're going to do this time. Maybe they try and do a little bit of Q&A and entice you into a preventative maintenance service. We're trying to sell keyword preventative maintenance services. Okay? We don't want your shit to break and then cause permanent damage to your vehicle. We want to keep your car on the road. That's the idea of a preventative maintenance service. Okay. We change your brakes when they're down to 30% instead of when they're at 10%. Okay. Because when you run your brakes down the metal on metal, now you get pads and rotors. When before, we could have just done pads and machined the rotors. Do you know how many times you can machine a rotor until you have to dispose of it? I can tell you on my cars, my Subarus, I got customers at 200,000 miles and their rotors are still in spec. Isn't that crazy? If a skilled mechanic knows how to machine rotors the correct way, you can get a lot of cuts out of those rotors and a lot of life. It pisses me off when people go to the parts store and they go, I got pads and rotors for $100, and this motherfucker over here tried to charge me $350 to do pads and machine rotors. I say so much money. Yeah, but those rotors that you bought are made out of aluminum and magnesium, and they're really bad at holding heat. Okay, ours were heavy and a lot of iron in them, and they resisted heat. Okay, like they had good ways of ventilating heat. So when your rotors, when they get hot and they stay hot because they can't get cooled down, that's when they warp. So you bought those $50 rotors. Next time you need pads, you're buying rotors again. We don't cut those cheap auto parts store rotors. If I see them on a brake job, I have to tell the customer I can only sell you rotors. I will not cut that because it will come back with a pulsation. Now, there are some brake jobs on some other cars, and I call these cars grocery getters. They're little cheap, little $20,000, $30,000 cars. Fluffy has a few of them in his fleet. Okay, where the manual actually says you do pads and rotors. You do not machine these rotors because those rotors, once you cut them down, there's nothing left. That's fine. If that's the rule, that's the rule. But if you got a big honking rotor like this, and the book says that that is like a brand new rotor is 15 millimeters thick, and you can machine it down to 13, and you're throwing it away on the first brake job, you're insane. You really are. You're not benefiting from anything. And if you want to do your own brake job, did you know that you can take your rotors and you can go to a lot of brake places that still have bench lays and they'll machine your rotors for you? You'll wait. You might wait an hour or two, but I know like around the corner where I live, there's a Midas. There's two Midas garages. And I tell a lot of people in my neighborhood who do their own brake jobs, like, you can just take them there and drop them off, man. Like they'll tell you, be like, yeah, it's 2-3 hours, or you can wait because they're working on waiters, but they'll get to you. Take them 4 rotors, they'll cut them right up, and then they'll call you when it's done. And you get to keep those nice rotors. So yes, we sell preventative maintenance. It's we see your ball joints. You're like, hey, the boot's ripped. It's not popping. It's not clicking. It's not coming out. And, that could potentially go sour on you. Okay. Now that the boot's ripped, now you can get water intrusion in there. Something can happen. It can happen tomorrow. It can happen next year. We don't know. I can't tell you how long it's going to last, but I have to tell you, it's compromised. With axles, we can reboot axles. If you got a ripped axle boot, we can fix that. You don't have to buy a whole new axle. If I see broken engine mounts, if I see stressed out rubber, a lot of the things we can fix. Control arms, not all control arms can be rebuilt, but I know on Subarus, we can rebuild all the control arms. We can press the bushings out, we can put new bushings in. A new control arm, folks, is $450 a piece. Those bushings are $20 a piece. Savings. Now, obviously, if you're up in the rust belt and that thing's rusted to shit, yeah, you probably just get a new control arm. Call it a win. And when you get a new control arm, you get ball joints. So win win win. That's the name of the game when you go in, is like we're kind of letting you know, like, hey, like we just want to keep your car in the road. We want to keep your tires fresh. We want to keep your brakes fresh. We want to keep your fluids fresh. I know that Uncle Bill has a car that's never had his brake fluid changed out, and it has 200,000 miles on it. Okay, but we have scientific studies that back it up that say, over time, brake fluid doesn't compress, or brake fluid loses its ability to do its job correctly. Brake fluid is hydroscopic, it likes to absorb moisture. When it absorbs moisture, and that's when you get that squishy feeling. And you may not think you have a squishy brake pedal until you get a brake flush and you go, oh, my brake stiffened up a little bit. It's a frog in water scenario. I had a I had a lady just today. Okay. It was a really old Forester. And I want to make an upsell. Okay. I want to make money so I can pay my bills, so I can keep the lights on in my house and feed my family. So I go, so Forester, it's 10 years old, 150,000 miles, and a customer wants an oil change rotate. What am I going to do? I'm going to drive that car around the fucking block. That's what I did. Takes me 5 minutes. I drove around the block. I'll be like, man, the steering on this thing sucks. It's making squeaky noises. It's popping, and the rotors or the hubs. I'm like, you got to turn the stereo up to drown that thing out. So I put that in my multi-point because we do video inspections too, and I put it on there. I says, hey, it's like, are you hearing a droning noise? And are you hearing this clicking and this popping? Because you got busted ball. I was like, your ball joints are going out. That's what's clicking. And I says, and that's your hubs right there. So I never knew those things were there. That's what she says. I didn't know. I'm like, well, you get used to hearing things and you ignore it. You just go about your life. It's kind of like developing a limp. All of a sudden, you go to a chiropractor and you're like, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know I needed that. So it's all about interjection, but the delivery has to be worked on. And that's the hardest lesson to teach the mechanics and the advisors, is the delivery of it. Okay. Customer comes in and they don't want shit. That's okay. Let them hold that ground. You can write it down and you can just say, like, we found a couple of safety things. We just want you to know, if you would like us to fix it, give us a call. I've won that conversation many a times with customers that were very adamant about not getting a recommendation, not getting a multi-point. And then when I talk to them, I just I have the checkout already done. I'd be like, okay, you're all checked out, you're ready to go. Found a couple of safety things, and you know, I'm sure you can find somebody in town to get those fixed. And go, whoa, 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 safety? What do you mean safety? Oh, yeah, you gotta, here's a picture. We sent you a video. I says, that strut is completely saturated with fluid. And I says, if you had to make an evasive maneuver, your vehicle wouldn't stick to the ground right. Okay. And you got wires sticking out of your tire because you got an alignment problem. So you wore it down to the quick. Like, we sent you a report. Oh, I just deleted that. Okay, well, that's why we have this last little discussion to make sure you understand. So when she was like, "Well, shit, I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want my car to get in a wreck." So, I says, "Can you do it today?" Yeah, yeah, we can do it today. It's about 4 hours. So, can I get you a ride home, or I can get you a loaner? You can come back tomorrow and pick up your car. Your decision. Just took a loaner. Came back the next day. We got a strut. We got an alignment, and we got an upsell. She ended up buying a top engine cleaner service. She was really happy. So people can change on the spot just like that. Let them be a dick. Okay. You just keep a smile on your face. Shake their hand, give them their keys back, send them about their way. Maybe sometimes people just come in cranky because their coffee machine's broken and your coffee machine can save the day. You need someone billing in office, not someone suggesting services. You need someone billing in an office, not someone suggesting services. So again, services is all about preventative maintenance. That's the name of the game of it. That's all it is. Now, I I get mad at people when they use services as a silver bullet. With like, take this magic service and it's going to make all your problems go away. No, it's not. No, it's not. Back when we had power steering flushes, okay? Like when you actually had power steering fluid, now everything is going electronic power steering racks, or I should say it has gone electronic power steering racks. 20 years ago, yeah, the sales pitch to tell people is, hey, every 60,000 miles or 5 years, we do recommend changing power steering fluid. Uh, keeps everything conditioned, keeps everything working correctly. Because like if you get a leak in a power steering rack, we don't repair them, we replace them. And a power steering rack is $1,500, and it's another 650 installed. And this flush is only $100. So we're selling it as a preventative maintenance. And a lot of these preventative maintenance services, believe it or not, some of them are backed up by a two-letter company. Did you know that they back it up with a warranty on their service too? Uh-oh, more warranty. Yeah, you go to our little two-letter friend, okay? I'm not saying who they are. I'm suggesting who they are because, I might misspeak for them. But I do know that when you buy these services from franchise shops and they have these special flushes, if you stay on that maintenance schedule that is set up with that flush, they'll back it up with money if anything happens to it. For instance, you got a brand new car. That company will say, "Hey, if you start a transmission flush service on that transmission before the new car warranty is up, and then you stay on our interval plan, we'll warranty it with new car warranty." And that's been redeemed. It really has. Customer put 150,000 miles on a Subaru CVT, and then the CVT took a dump on their fluid, but they bought a transmission for him. They do exist. So yeah, you're paying. I think that service runs about $450. So what is it? They recommended every 30,000 miles. So you had 150, 3, 6, 9, 12. So five. He had five of them times five. So he spent $2,500 on preventative maintenance to keep from spending $8,000 on parts and labor for a transmission. That's the long-term objective of it. Now, if you're a customer who's just going to buy a car every 2 years, don't worry about those services. Let the next customer worry about it. But If you want to drive a car and you want to get a 250,000 miles out of it, preventative maintenance does work. It really does. Changing fluids out before they're shot, because when fluids are shot, then that's when you get you get metal to metal contact and metal problems. My wife's brand new car, she bought a brand new Crosstrek last year. That advertises it can go 6 months, 6,000 miles on an oil change. That car is not going to go over 3,000 miles. I'll tell you what. And it's not because I think that my product is built bad. No, it's because I know the advantage of keeping the oil at its peak performance. That's what it's about. So, what am I going to do? Buy an extra oil change every year to save on a $6,000 engine job when that short block takes a dump? A lot of people don't know that when you run oil down to the ground, okay? If you're doing 6,000-mile oil change intervals, that is like that is like as far as you can go on it. Oil starts to oxidize, it turns acidic, okay? All the good, nice properties in it, it wears out. And when it wears out, it ruins seals, it gums up valves, like, and then that's when you start getting like these like the car doesn't have enough pep. Well, it doesn't have enough pep because the oil pressure can't go through that valve that's gummed up to activate that VVT and give you the VTEC. So change your oil a little bit sooner. You buy an extra oil change every year. You get an extra 50,000 miles out of your engine, maybe more. Maybe it never breaks. I've never heard a bad story of a vehicle that had excellent preventative maintenance. I really didn't. Let's go back through comments. Suggesting services is a technician's job. So, in fairness, if your service advisor is a technician on light duty, heck yeah. Yeah, like I said earlier, I was like, if a mechanic goes through their vehicle inspection, the mechanic we're trained as mechanics on making recommendations on preventative maintenance. Okay, so I go through a customer's car, and this is I've made videos of how I do my customer videos, or my video inspections that we have to do for customers. I've done demos of them, but basically is I inspect the car and I take a white grease pen and I make little notes on the car. So I put the tread depth on the tires. So when I'm shooting the video, the customer sees the tread depth. That visually confirms to the customer, hey, I measured it. It's there. And then I write on the inside of the sidewall what their brake measurement is. If I see a ball joint or something that, or a bushing, I'll put like an X or a mark in that general area. So I'm shooting the video. I'm like, I want to bring your attention here. I want to show you, hey, the stabilizer link, the boot is completely missing. If there's an oil leak on a pan, like I'll put an X on the pan. And I'll show them, be like, hey, I marked this here for your attention. That's an oil leak. We can fix that. How bad is the oil leak? Well, I checked the oil on your engine and it was a little low, but I don't know if it's going to get worse overnight or if it's going to take a year to get much worse. I don't tell you, I can't tell you how long something's going to limp along until it completely goes out. Now, I've helped out some people and I use this as a sales pitch where I'm doing my video inspection and I show them in the video and be like, okay, so we have a little bit of an oil leak around your oil pan. Um, and I'll say it just like this. Uh, it's like, this should be resealed, but if you're curious about how active this leak is, I'm going to wash it off for you. And I'll take my brake cleaner and I'll wash it off in the video and I'll show that it's clean. And I says, so next time we look at this, if it's returned and it looks just like that, you should really get that fixed. But if you want to get under the car at any time, you can take a look and you know that that's fresh oil. That works every time because people know that I'm being active about trying to help them with keeping their engine alive by keeping the oil in the engine. You take the oil cap off. And if you see it's just all black inside the oil cap, I'll point it out, be like, hey, like this means that you need to increase your oil change interval. That's not good. Some people like they don't know that. I'll explain what that means in a video inspection, and they'll say like, "Well, yeah, I change it every 6,000 miles." I'm like, "You do change it every 6,000 miles, but you only drive your car 6,000 miles a year." Okay? 6 months, 6,000 miles. You can't just let the oil sit. Once the oil's opened up to atmosphere, it starts changing. Or in some cases, customers just drive like a bat out of hell wherever they go. They go 0 to 60 wide open throttle every single time. That'll chew up some oil really quick. They'll break that oil. They'll break down 6,000-mile oil in 2,000 miles. I had to explain that to somebody who drives a stick shift. They have a stick shift Forester, and they're complaining that no, it's a stick shift Crosstrek. I'm sorry, it was a stick shift Crosstrek that's only 5 years old with 60,000 miles on it. And he's like, man, this thing's got oil consumption left and right. He's like, I'm always having to put 2 quarts in it every 6,000 miles. Really? That's weird. So we have an oil consumption test that we run, and it passed. He got pissed off. So I asked if I could go on a test drive with him. He says, take me around the block, man. There's an access road here. Let's get on the highway. Let's check it out. This, this dude drives like a stunt car racer, and he's engine braking down. He's getting off the exit ramp. It's an 80-mile-an-hour interstate. He's driving 80 miles an hour on the interstate. He hits the exit ramp, and he goes from fifth to fourth and just lets it bog like it's a semi truck. And I was like, are you seriously good? I look at him, I'm like, after about 10 seconds, I'm like, are you just gonna engine brake all the way down to 40 miles an hour? He's like, yeah, why? I'm saving my brakes. Like, dude, that's where your engine oil's going. I was like, you're just sunk. I was like, you put such a heavy vacuum on your intake manifold. And I once we got back to the shop, I explained the PCV system. I was like, you just been sucking crankcase vacuums and taking all that vaporized oil. It's like, that's where it's going, man. Just use your damn brakes. So yeah, if you engine brake a lot on a manual transmission, a lot, you'll naturally just take up a little bit of oil, and you'll have to drive around with a quart of oil. So use your brakes. I can sell preventative safety too. I could sell life preservers. Yeah, I sell tank to the Swedes, man. You don't need to know why, you just need to know they save lives. There you go. That's a good message, man. I don't know if you're being sarcastic in it, but I'm just trying to help. The whole point of this discussion is let's talk about it. Um, and obviously, uh, we should take this also into perspective too. Is the style of shop that I work in, half of its revenue is in preventative maintenances. Okay. The other half is done doing a mixture of warranty repair, customer repair, and fixing body shop work. Okay. Insurance jobs and stuff like that. There are some shops that literally all they do is whatever the customer tells them to do. And that's a good business model too. Like they don't want to they don't want to do flushes. Okay. They don't want to be recommending alignments with new tires. There there are some shops, and I watch their videos on YouTube. They have very, very good shops, and they only deal with customer concerns and concerns only. Like they'll actually charge a customer for a multi-point. They'll say like, if you want a multi-point, I'll charge you $15. And they do that to keep their labor rate down. Because their labor rate in their area, they tell me is $65 an hour is what they charge their customers. So they get a lot of customers that just come in, they only want specific repairs. But if a customer comes in and asks, like, I'd like a multi-point, like, yeah, I'll give you a multi-point, and then like I'll charge you for it. So different, it's a the shop has a different standard of operating procedure, and that's fine. I recommend PC valves with every tune-up. I make it part of my estimate. Same here, Fluffy. I do too. I really do. And I put so many of them in cars to the fact that by the end of the week, like the parts department doesn't have any more, and I still don't know why the computer system hasn't figured it out. I'm selling 3 PCVs a week, and we still can't keep them in stock. I could sell a brake flush too because one day, someday, years from now, your brake parts may begin to fail. Now that will happen anyways, but we think it will take longer. Maybe again, it's brake fluid, it's hydroscopic. It can absorb moisture. Moisture's in the system, and there's parts of the system that don't deal well with having moisture in it. It can change out the way that the brake fluid gets compressed too. So, like, I understand your point. I'm just trying to just stay to silver linings here. Leaks, and also it holds hydrocarbons and more as well, and eats oil. I think you're talking to somebody else, Fluff. Always document safety items. You're exactly right, and we do that. We do that very, very diligently. So everything that is recommended on a vehicle, there actually has to be a decline line. We recommend tires because they're down to 4/32. We just don't let we have to add another line to the work order that says customer decline for new tires. I don't care if you're going to Costco because you're a Costco member, you get them cheaper. No, like we document it saying that we gave it to you. And then when you get your paperwork before you leave, you have to sign it. We don't give you keys to your car until you sign the paperwork. Only once have I heard of somebody who refused to sign paperwork because they just didn't want the recommendation. And a manager got involved, and I don't know what was the end of it, but it was a straight up YouTube Karen incident. Just high pitched screaming and wailing and an uncontrollable situation. And I do know that after everything was all said and done, the manager and the GM and even our vice president all got on a phone call, and they documented that situation and what had happened. And they actually got the security tapes and like everything got saved because they were like, that could be an incident. Somebody could be setting us up. We take those incidents very seriously for liability. It's like being at a four-way intersection and nobody know who and you know that the person on the right has the right of way. Actually, wait, I said that wrong. It's like being in an intersection where you have a stop sign and you can't get in. Okay, there's just traffic going back and forth and back and forth, and then some guys all of a sudden just gonna stop and be like, "I know what's happened, man. Just go through, go through." And you're like, "Okay, yeah, hey, thanks, man, thanks." And then you get rear-ended. That motherfucker cut me off. Who's liable? Well, that dude waved me through. Cop shows up on the scene and be like, "Yeah, he has the right of way. You had a stop sign. You cut him off." That's all he sees. It's the perception. Now, hopefully, you had a traffic cam that showed that dude going like this. But that's just the example that I'm trying to make. It's Sue Happy America. This guy says he just ignores it when they watch me. Yeah, I just like I'll shut my garage door. Like we have open bays. So I'm not in that bad character anymore. I was a bit of a hothead years ago. I think that I've like really tailored myself in. Maybe I've just winded myself out. The old man disease has finally kicked in and I'm just too tired to be angry. Just read a lot of self-help books and stuff like that. But Yeah, now I just disengage from it and be like, if I'm uncomfortable from it, then I was like, oh, I'm just gonna shut my door. I'm like, you're letting all the hot air in, even though it's hotter in the garage. Cabin air filter like that. Yeah, yeah. I see cabin air filters that look like they've never been replaced since the car was bought. Specifically on Tribecas, because the Tribeca, it's buried behind about three pieces of trim. You got to take a piece of the side dash off to get to an action lever to disengage it, and then you got to take a couple of takedown pins out of the glove box assembly, pull the glove box assembly out. Then there's another trap door with about 9 plastic rivets behind it. Take all that off, and then there's a security door on the blower box to pull that filter out. Now, why did the asshole engineer design it like that? Because he's thinking in his head, well, we put in the owner's manual, you should replace it every so many miles or so many years. Nobody reads their owner's manuals. I feel like, no. And because it's so heavy to tear down, I know people don't look at it. Like I see a Tribeca pull up and I go, I get you, that thing's never been looked at. And I'll just see clean rivets. I'm like, yep, that's never been pulled out. That's gonna be a nasty one. And there'll just be a caked up mess of leaves and dirt and debris just sitting on top of them. Be like, that person's been breathing that. That's nasty. But I know why people don't inspect it. It's because they're not getting paid to pull all that shit apart. That's why. And that falls on the manufacturer. It really does. So when the manufacturer does something stupid like that, burying filters way deep in the dash, and then the shops want us to take them out and show them to the customer every time they come in every so many miles for a service, or maybe they just want to come in for a make me feel safe in my shitty car kind of inspection. Like, I'm going on a road trip. I want a car inspection. No, get in the back of the line. I got paying customers. I want my free inspection. No, I'll have an express guy do it. Have fun. Like, you were here last week. Isn't that inspection good enough? I want a fresh one. Fine. It'll be an hour. Have a seat. He's like, thank you for taking up my appointment slot. Those are the worst, is around big vacation spots like Easter and Christmas and Thanksgiving and 4th of July. I'm going on a road trip. I want to know if my car is safe to drive. Your car is about as safe to drive as you can afford the tow bill. How about that? You're going to drive 500 miles away from your house? Cool. Hope you got the money to tow it back home if it breaks. I saw you last week, man. Told you what was wrong. Hey, what's going on, Shannon? We're kind of winding down here. We got. I always cover my ass when doing MPIs. I had a car come in, metal on metal road was scary. And call the advisor and shop foreman to check it out when the customer declined the brake shop. No, that was worth it. It really was. You might get trolled for doing that, but I do it too. I really do. When I see something that is a blatant like this is bad, I make sure that my boss sees it too. Why? Because if that customer does come back for anything and it falls back on that inspection, I want my manager to already have in his head, hey, I saw that too, man. Like, girl, what are you talking about? Like, my tech brought me over to the car and we recommended you brakes. They were metal on metal. He showed it to me. We took pictures and sent you a video. It's metal on metal. What do you mean your wheels locked up and it fell off? What do you think was going to happen? He's going to be more quick to take your side and not waste your time because now you've helped out with the perception of it. Like I did. I did that just this week. It was a car, big old rodent nest sitting on top of the engine. So I told the customer about it. I s- did my inspection. Hey, there's a big old rodent nest. It's right underneath your intake manifold. Um, like, like to recommend getting under there, cleaning it, washing out your engine bay, and getting all these leaves and debris out of here, so I can make sure that they haven't chewed up any of your harness. And they're like, "No lights are on." Well, dude, like, yeah, but that you don't know. So we show it to him. I He don't care. He's like, "I'll clean it myself." Show the manager. You see that? Like, that's an alternator wire that's exposed. Like, yeah, I see it. Okay, that's that alternator wire that's hauling ass at 100 amps. That shorts on anything that's floating around in that engine bay now. Damage to the computer, damage to the wiring harness, just melt stuff down. So I said, yeah, that's worth my 10 minutes to actually show my boss and be like, you see, we told them we need to take care of this. And they're gonna decline it. Yeah, thank you for showing me. Yeah, even on multi points, when I check dipsticks and cars have like no oil on dipsticks, I write that on every inspection. Hey, I know you're here for an oil change, but you also came in with no oil on the dipstick. Because we've had this happen many times. People come in, they got no oil in their engine, they get an oil change, and then they come back a week later and their engine's knocking. Hey, you messed up my oil change. Now my engine's knocking. The boss man asked the technician, like, was there any oil in that engine before you changed it? I don't know. It was last week, dude. I looked at 80 cars since then. What are you talking about? Now I document it. It's on paper. It's on my video. Hey, before I start this oil change, I'm going to let you know you came in with no oil, dude. They got some more comments. You guys are having a nice little side conversation. Hey, Midwest, how you going? I was disappointed there was no live stream this week. Turns out yesterday was Friday and today is Saturday. That's right. That's right. You actually got multiple live streams today. You got one of me working today. You got one of Fluffy giving away tools. And now we're all here. Yeah, I still put separate lines. It's just I'll help out the customer with a little bit of reduced labor on valve covers and spark plugs. But it still has to have a valve cover reseal line, and it still has to have a tune-up line. Now, respectively, even though you got covers off, doesn't mean it's still easy to get spark plugs out. But in my situation on the boxer engines, where the plugs are butt up against the side frame rails of the unibody, I got to pull a lot of things out to get access to those valve covers. And then once I get those valve covers out, so that's kind of like the same process that I have to do to get a spark plug out. So in my situation, where a tune-up is 2.5 hours, and we're also doing valve covers for 3 hours, I'll tell the advisor, like, hey, we're going to do the valve covers, one line, 3 hours. And then we're going to charge an hour, hour and a half for the spark plugs because, like, we've already taken out the battery, we've already taken out the air box, we've already taken off parts of the plenum. So I kind of hurt myself that way. But in turn, we express that forwardness to the customer and we let them know, like, hey, there's overlapping labor. So that saves you a couple $100. Would you like to invest that in something else? And that got me a brake flush. Okay, that got me a serpentine belt. So I used it as an opportunity to allow them to get something else for preventative maintenance done on their vehicle. Like serpentine belts. Some people like to run serpentine belts until they snap or they squeal. They say, like, hey, it's not squealing, it's still good. No, I'll tell them, be like, serpentine belt. 8 years, 80,000 miles. That's when I would replace it because a serpentine belt for a lot of vehicles, that's not something you can do on the side of the road with with a tow truck driver. Okay, you might need some special tools. You might need that car on a lift. Okay, it's not like just swapping a battery in because your battery died, or putting a spare tire on because you had a blowout. No, you got to stay ahead of the curve on serpentine belts. And on some cars, it's quite a chore. I did a serpentine belt on a Cadillac, and it paid 4 hours because you that belt was wrapped around the engine mounts. It was crazy. So we had to like hook up a traversing engine hoist to stabilize the engine as we took the engine mounts off. And then we needed a special clamping tool because it didn't have the traditional lever action. I did a thumbs up on my screen. Uh-oh. The stream might crash. I don't know what I did. That's not good. Is it still going? Let me bring it up. Let's see what's going. Get me a new window. What is happening? A thumbs up crashed my stream. I'll be damned. Well, it shows dropout. Well, the audio's still working, but the video crashed. Well, folks, I think we talked long enough. It's 10 o'clock. That's our cutoff time. I'm going to go right to the bottom of the chat. Okay. See what's going on. Shut up, Siri. Yay, we got a member. All right. Man, Fluffy is in here tearing it up in the chat. I was way behind on chat. Why didn't you say something? Quick Wrench is in here driving. So quite a few. There we go. Yeah, my camera just completely took a dump. You know what I'll do is let me do this. Let me do this. Let me get Fluff. I never had you come on. You want to come on? And then we'll kill like 15 minutes. Oh, I think the Google Fiber just hiccuped. You son of a compose. There you are. There you go. And forward that to anybody else that you might see because I don't have their emails. I'll try and figure out why this camera crashed. That works. Hey, there we go. Just turn it off and turn it back on. Let's see if Fluffy wants to come on and say a couple of words since he has been so good in the chat. He deserves to come on and say something. If not, then we will let it slide, and we'll kill it. Oh, I see what happened. Google Chrome did an update in the back and now wants to relaunch the browser. What a bunch of jerks. There we are. Hey, this is the longest you've ever stayed on, man.
Yo, yeah. You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, man.
All right. Yeah,
Because
it's 'cause
like
I was
you're tearing it up in the chat.
hey,
Who are you yelling at in there?
a few people.
It was like I see Quick Wrench just kind of trickled in late. Do you
Yep.
want to forward that to anybody else you see in chat? Bring them on.
Sergio, you want to come on? What were you guess on pressures? Let's see if Sergio wants. Sergio, you good or
You
want
want
to
to
come
talk?
on?
Yeah, you want to talk about residential AC, Sergio? Dude, he's taught me some stuff.
Yeah,
Dude, he knows more about climate control than anybody else I've talked to.
he better.
Like, I'll get all excited about a new automotive tool, and he'll be like, "Bitch, we've had that for 20 years. They took that from me." Like, make me look bad.
Yeah. See, I'll send Sergio the link. Yeah, no, I'm just here, just chilling. Like ever since I got off the giveaway, been in the same spot.
Every one of us went to work today.
I went for like an hour. I was like, yeah, nah, I'm not working today.
Everybody put up a YouTube video or a stream video of them being like, "I came in on a Saturday. Wasn't supposed to be here today."
Yeah, not me, man.
Oh, Sergio says he doesn't do residential, so commercial then.
Commercial. You don't want to be in people's nasty attics. But
Yeah, I
I
got him
enjoyed
too.
this topic. I was like, fuck yeah. I like talking about how people say upsells are a scam and they don't understand the inspection processes and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's not like we're trying to shove it. I feel I can feel the position of some customers where they're like, "You're always peddling this." It's like I feel that persona. Like I go to Home Depot and you're buying a tool and they're like, "Do you want to buy our 2-year warranty on it?" No, don't throw a hissy fit about it. Just hit the no button. That's
Yeah.
all you gotta do. Just hit the no button. You don't want it, just hit no. You
Like
go to Best Buy, you want that extended warranty? No thanks.
my shop does this whole back in 2008, prior to 2008, we were doing a free oil change for the lifetime of the vehicle. If they mention that, we still honor it. You still have
There's
these
no
people.
Surge. There's Surge.
We still
Hey,
have
Surge.
people
Hello.
with their 2003, and we recommend the same stuff over and over. We don't want to keep recommending the same stuff to you just for you to decline it. So we don't want to do it, but we are obligated to. So,
How are those Tecton screwdrivers holding up? Did you break them yet?
What?
Hey, he's already won two of my prizes. He was such a reoccurring winner.
Oh yeah. I haven't even used those screwdrivers. They were sitting on my dresser for like the longest time. I gotta put them in my truck.
Yeah, give them to an apprentice. Be like, "Hey man, I bought these for you."
That's what I was thinking about doing. But yeah, they were sitting at home, and it's like they're slowly making their way out to the truck.
Yeah, eventually
They're
gonna
nice.
be
I
used.
like the hard handles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's surprisingly decent hard handles, and it's that nice plastic that if you do put a dent or a scratch in it, you can just rub it out.
oh, this guy is working right now.
What? No, I'm on my way home.
Oh,
but they just they released a new flare nut adapters for 3/8 wrenches, and dude, they're sick. They really are. I got a demo
They're
of one, and they
like a
are,
flare knot, like rosewood, right?
yeah. And the sizing, they're doing 8 through 27 millimeter on them.
Oh wow.
Holy shit.
You can get like a whole set of 8 through 27 for 250 shipped. And they're American made in Michigan.
I think I have the Matco 10 through 24s or 22, something like that.
Yeah, so I got
Yeah, I
a
gotta get that
they let me just pick one size to play around with, so I took a 19, and I was like, dude, this thing's got some beef on it, but it still fits in tight places.
That's good. Like it feels solid.
It really does for the thinness that it is. I was like, yeah, like I put it in a vise and I tried to pinch it closed and it didn't want to budge. I was like, that was binding up my vise.
Yeah, because it's like I've noticed that like with higher quality sockets, like just holding it, you can feel like I don't know if it's just like maybe an American thing or what, but like it feels like heavy, like a snap-on socket. Feels like denser, I guess you could say, as
Yep.
compared to like say like a Harbor Freight socket.
Oh yeah.
We got a new member on,
Definitely
Shannon. Good new member. Thank you.
Still have a socket.
Willie, look for a video during that service in your vehicle and check the filter part number on your manual. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a lot of times those part numbers for your air filters, they are written in the manual, aren't they? Usually you have a
my truck is still in the plastic.
Yeah, usually you have a separate manual just for your preventative maintenance services.
I remember when I bought my truck, I was on this like Dodge Ram forum, and this guy was like, "Oh, I like reading the manual because if I get stuck and it's going to tell me how to get out." I'm like, "No, probably won't, but okay." Like mine's still in the plastic, and it's still. I sent a picture. The guy got all fired.
It'll tell you what certain things mean. That's about it.
Yeah, but they gonna tell you how to fix your car
Nope.
if like it dies on you or some shit.
We had one really funny incident. Bad for the customer, but it was funny to us because we made fun of the owner's manual out of it. But their engine caught on fire, so we had told them we had told them like, hey, you have oil that's pulling up on top of your engine. That's not good because that's eventually going to catch on fire. And sure enough, because we had said it, it happened. So it comes in, like the engine's melted down, the hood's completely burned through. There's no front end, like the whole front of the vehicle was burned off. And we're looking, we're like, why was it towed here? Like this car's totaled out. What are we gonna fucking do with it? Like, there's nothing we can do with it. The unibody's gone. But we thought it was funny as hell with all because the windshield was shattered and cracked, and the fire got into the cabin. We open up the glove box, and there's your owner's manual, brand new in the cellophane. We're like, well, this survived of all things that survived in the car. The owner's manual. It's bulletproof. Send your troops to war with it instead of Kevlar.
Yeah, we had a car similar to that come in, and they towed it into service, but because it was under investigation. And man, I think they finally towed that car away just within the past few months. And I was gonna do a video on it because I seen it there a couple months ago. I was like, I should do a video because I've told people like oil leaks can cause fires. No, they can't. No, they can't. Yes, they can. And,
no, they
and
can't.
so I go back a couple weeks ago. I'm like, oh, this car is finally gone. It sat 5 years. 5 years on a holding lot at our shop.
Really?
Yeah, and they finally freaking took the vehicle.
So, like, the insurance company left it there?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
So we had
and
a
it was all because of a valve cover leak.
at my Ford shop I worked at. We had a rodeo. Is that what it was called? It's like a little SUV that's made by
Suzu?
a Suzu. Yeah, the rodeo. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was there for 6 years.
Damn.
And it was all over. A customer didn't want to pay a bill. So
It just sat there.
it just sat there. Tires rotting off. Eventually, until it wasn't until like one other employee just finally asked the manager, like, "Hey, we have a mechanic's lien against this car, right?" He's like, "I don't know." Like, dude, you walk by this car every day for the last 5 years. What's going on? So the technician actually like processed the paperwork through the finance department for the mechanic lien. About a week later, the sheriff's all like, "Yeah, you guys own the car. There you go. The customer surrendered it. Here's the title." So he asked him like, "I want to buy the car," and they're like, "Just pay the $100 to transfer the documents. It's yours. Get it off my lot."
Damn. I want to do a stream about that too.
So
About mechanic liens.
he drove that car to work the next week. He's like, "Got me $100
$100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, "Put a new battery in it, change the oil, fire right up." And he still had the same rotten tires on it.
I'd at least got new tires.
I got a story happening right now at the shop where we had one of those big fleet trade-in places. You know, like,
Look at that.
oh crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those not to name them, but the huge multi-acre used car compounds, right, Fluffy?
Yeah.
Like CarMax and stuff like that. We have one of their cars that came in, and it's an STI, and it's littered with codes and problems, and it's an STI with 100,000 miles on it. It obviously looks like the previous owner ragged it out, took all his mods off, put it back to stock. It's got engine problems. It's got phaser problems. It's got O2 sensor problems. It's got wiring harness problems. But they sold it to the customer like everything was fine, and the customer bought that third-party warranty. So they sent it to us for Diag, and I looked at it. I'm like, this ain't cheap, and it's already got plates on it. But it's the sale is still fresh. Like, it's got temp tags on it. So the advisor called the place. They ducked them, or they didn't call them back for 3 days. So for 3 days, we tried to get a hold of this car company. They wouldn't return our calls until the manager called and said, like, "You just need to come pick up your car. We're done." So then they call, "Oh yeah, we're talking with the customer. Like, we're gonna pay their deductible." "What deductible?" I was like, their third party insurance doesn't kick in for another 28 days. Yeah, no, we're working something out with it. We're gonna go through our insurance. We're gonna fix the whole car. We're gonna pay the whole bill. So and I look at the advisor. I says, that car's gonna rot here for a month until it hits 30 days, and then they're gonna call third party and they're gonna pay the claim.
But ain't there a mileage discrepancy too?
They're probably stupid. They're probably fixing their books. So, but this has happened a couple of times where we get these used cars with mileage on them from wherever they come from, and they got third-party warranty, and they don't answer our calls for about a month, and then all of a sudden they act like our best friends. Like, "Yeah, we're gonna pay the deductible on it. They've been in our loaner. It's okay."
Yep.
Like, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to give that insurance company a $20,000 bill. I'm not going to play nice.
We've had similar cases they'll have like at least 30 days the contract has to be active, and it has to have at least 1,000 miles on it.
Yeah, we've
had customers that like they don't pay their bill, and then they're like, "It's not working." My boss just goes, "Yeah, well, pay your bill, and we'll go out."
The worst is when you eat the repair because they won't pay up. You're like, well, whatever. Then they call you back next year and say, hey, can you come out? Well, yeah, you got to pay last year's bill. You didn't pay that. Oh, do I? I swear I paid that.
Nope. Nope.
He's like, that's why you stopped calling, right? Is because we paid it off? No, we stopped calling because we had other things to do. So if you
Because we
want us
gave up on it.
you want us to go back out there, you got to pay last year's bill first.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
that's how,
it's going to happen in every like repair kind of industry, right? Where you're going to eat a few repairs. Just can't make it a habit.
yeah. See, what did I did some free stuff this week for a customer just because I scared them. So they came in with like a nasty problem with their car, like heavy steering on the steering wheel. It's electronic power steering.
Huh.
And I'm like, man, there's no codes in the power steering control module, but I can see the front wheel speeds. They're going 150 miles an hour while I'm in park. So I was like, shoot, there's so the steering rack is going like, okay, well the steering rack is programmed to respond. The faster you go, the tighter the steering, and the slower you go, the looser the steering, because you don't want to have you don't want to have a free spinning wheel at 80 miles an hour. You'll roll the car when you try and merge to another lane.
Yep.
So that's why your steering stiffens up. Well, I'm telling the person, I'm like, hey, like I checked your fuses. It's like I checked all the fuses for this in here. I was like, this is definitely a wiring harness issue. And it took out the whole front end. That's pretty weird because usually it's just if it's a single wheel, then it's probably just a sensor. But because it took out the whole front half of the car, thinks that it's going 150 miles an hour. That's suspicious. And I was going through the engine bay, and I'd be like, that looks like rodent damage. I says, that's rodent damage right there. I had my phone, and I took a video, and I said, that's rodent damage on your bulkhead harness because there was a rat nest on top of it. And I saw like colored things in there. And they're like, oh, shit, that sucks. Well, we're going to call our insurance then. And they have like a $2,000 deductible. And I'm like, and they're kind of scared. I'm like, well, it's a $6,000 bulkhead harness. So not too bad. That's like hail damage territory, right?
Yeah.
And so they still wanted a tune-up done. No, it wasn't a tune-up. It was we were doing a thermal control valve. So we got to take the plenum off the engine. And when I took that off, I had my noodle in the engine bay a little bit more, and I'm looking at that rodent nest, and I'm like, I'm curious, how bad is this? And I wipe it aside, and I was like, ah, shit, it didn't touch any of the wires. I was like, I just scared the shit out of a customer for no reason. Like there was a nest, but like they didn't chew the wires up. I'm like, but why is this car going 150 miles an hour? And it turns out it was just a bad battery.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, the battery was just the reserve capacity on the battery just wasn't enough to power up some of the modules correctly, that it was making these false decisions.
That's a weird one.
Yeah, because when I disconnect the battery for anything, I always hook up my battery tender to it. And so my battery tender was like, this battery's at 15%, and it topped it off by the time I finished up this thermal valve body job. Put it all back together. Hey, those codes cleared, and everything's hunky dory.
Hey, Baja, what do you think of this? I had a car come in, check engine light on, had a PO or no, I'm sorry, a P2100, which is electronic throttle control power supply. Right?
Yeah.
I look at freeze frame data, and this thing was only tripping on startup. Well, freeze frame showed, I'm sorry, ignition on. It would trip on ignition on. So you know how it does its throttle test.
Mm-hmm.
it was showing freeze frame was showing 600 degrees Fahrenheit on engine temperature. The speed was maxed out at 154 miles an hour. Engine RPM at 6,800 RPM.
How many open circuit codes did you have?
None.
Weird.
That was the only thing. I'm not sure. I don't know how this thing was testing, but I feel like it's throwing with the ECM off. It's doing something
Yes.
while the vehicle's off, and then once you turn the vehicle on, it throws this code.
Yeah, so that's what I learned. That was what I reminded myself today, how important reserve capacity on a battery is. So even though this battery passed with the express tester, which only cares about CCA, once I put the big dog charger on it, the DCA 8000, which does the CCA, the reserve capacity, the charging and the discharging test,
Yeah.
it failed the discharge recharge test because the battery couldn't take a shunt, which is, just be like, hey, what do you do if you have to discharge all your voltage? How fast can you regenerate your voltage? And that would explain maybe the situation you're running into. It's just the onrush current that the battery has to supply with everything waking up, all the computers, and then turning servos and taking measurements. That voltage is off just enough to where it's making incorrect angle readings because the voltages are off.
It's not sending out the right voltage, so it's not getting back the right.
Yeah, so it's feedback sensors aren't doing it.
Right.
Now, the computers are also programmed to keep this in mind. This is very interesting to know. So the computers are programmed to recognize low voltage, and they can compensate their sensor readings for low voltage. So if your battery is 11.5 volts upon startup, the computer says, okay, if you're 11.5 volts, I can do the math. And then I know that the values that are returning to me on an 11.5 circuit can do so much. So they'll make compensation. And I had a situation where the voltage at the control module was 11.5 volts, but the voltage at the fuel pump was 12.5 volts. So that means that the computer module had some green crusties somewhere on its power line, and it was changing the tables for how it measures its sensors. So that might be something to look at. If find out where, first use the DCA cart on your battery, make sure it passes with flying colors. Then the module that looks at the throttle body, look at its power and see what it's getting, and make sure that the same B plus voltage on any of the sensors that it monitors is the same too.
And what really threw me off on this one too is our IPDM used to control the throttle as far as, sending its voltage, and then inside the throttle, depending on reading the APP sensor, the accelerated position, pedal position, would determine how much the throttle opens up and not. And well, now it's getting all its power from the ECM versus from the IPDM. They kind of switched it up on us. And I was like, y'all suck.
It got even more confusing now that we have like 3 sensor readings in our accelerator pedals now instead of just one.
Why?
Redundancy.
Yeah, we got 2.
Are they all the same reading, or are they like 3 different values?
They're different values that have to add up to a third value. So you'll have an A and a B sensor, and they're set up, or as you press down on the accelerator pedal, one's going from a 0 to 2.5 scale, the other one's going from a 2.5 to a 0 scale, and they both have to add up to a
0.
yes. So that way the computer knows that there's no short in the accelerator pedal. That was all a result of those Priuses with the runaway cars.
Oh yeah,
So
I remember
now,
those because one of the big stories with that, it happened literally like right down the road from me.
yeah. So now, by now having that reversing of the voltage, now that discrepancy can't happen. If one of the lines goes out, you can still get some light acceleration with a check engine light, but now they can't short. Now the pedal can't short out and run away. That's what it's designed
Oh,
to
I'm
do.
sorry. I was thinking of something else. That was the one where it was like Lexus that had an issue with like the gas pedal getting stuck down or something.
No, that was Toyota.
Oh yeah, Lexus was Toyota.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was Toyota.
there was a big recall about it, but yeah, that happened here. It was the guy that was driving was a CHP officer, and like they like went off the freeway, and yeah, it was a whole thing.
And wasn't that a result of floor mats?
Yeah, that too.
So now floor mats on the driver's side has to have clips to hold the floor mat in place.
Everybody say hi, princess.
But yeah, it's some crazy stuff that's happening with these vehicles nowadays.
Yeah, we changed our floor mats without any concern. We were like, we're just gonna do it because everybody else is doing it.
Mm-hmm.
We had a recall where we had to cut some of the center console because it extended up to the firewall. We had to cut that away because supposedly people's shoes were getting stuck.
Oh,
Where they couldn't let off the accelerator.
Weird.
Yep. So we chopped a piece away and
Really? That was the man the
that
service
was the
voltage that
fix. From what
I
I
don't know,
was
1
told,
inch
that
by
was the
1
reason.
inch.
I'm like, because when we first get a recall, we're like, what the hell? Like, I'm cutting a piece, a corner piece about that much. Why?
Right.
And then they tell us, and we're like, oh, okay. That's great.
yeah. I think the only runaway Subarus that I've heard about are the ones where people who wear flip flops get their thong, their sandal thong, their toe thong stuck on the accelerator, and they freak out.
I've had that happen. Driving with sandals. But
Where
not
do you get it
usually.
stuck?
So you got the sandals where they have the little
Oh yeah, the little
thong
button on
right
the
there.
bottom.
Yeah. So as you're driving, like your foot, all you have to do is that little sandal just has to slip off the pedal just enough to walk up under the accelerator pedal, but your foot now is on the accelerator pedal, and you kind of got it pinched down there like a paper clip. And they just kind of freaked out like a dog was biting their foot, and they're like, "Whoa!" and they went off the road. And they were trying to tell us that our shop that the car malfunctioned. I'm like, no, there wasn't anything wrong. I'm like, the freeze frame data shows like you were pressing the pedal like this. And the investigators were kind of saying like, yeah, like in the police report, like they found her sandals like got thrown outside the vehicle, like she had rolled the car.
You ever get cars where they're like, oh, I pushed the brake and the car didn't stop. So I ended up hitting this or hitting that. And it was a rental that they were in.
Yeah, we had one person who wanted us to pay
but
for his repair, and then he wanted us to give him a new car when we denied the repair because he was saying that the backup sensors didn't stop his car, and he got hit by somebody and the parking lot as he was backing out.
Well, isn't it on Subarus that if it senses something, it won't let you drive?
That's the eyesight. That's the forward motion of the vehicle. So they were
Because
saying they were backing out of a parking spot, and they were saying that the rear active braking on their vehicle was supposed to stop them if there was something in their side traffic that was coming through the parking lot. And I was like, dude, take that up with the guy who hit you in the parking lot, because one,
right,
you don't have rear active braking on your car. You just have sonar. That's it.
okay, but
So you just got beeps and boops. You don't have rear active braking. And then he's like, well, I want a new car because they sold me a car with rear active braking. That's what I asked for. It's like, I'm not sales.
go
I'm
talk
not
to the
sales.
sales guy.
Yeah. I was like, that's a sales problem. And I'm telling my buddy tech next to me, I was like, I'm pretty sure he looked at that higher trim car and then said, I don't want the payments, but he still had in his head,
Right.
I'm getting those options.
Yeah, no, it's because I know that because I remember once I went fishing and like we were leaving and this lady like and she was in a Subaru and she was like trying to back up, but like the car would move like 6 inches and then you'd hear like a grrr and it would stop because I guess the transmission would flip back into park. And come to find
Yeah.
out is because she had a bike rack in the back and it sensed the
Yeah.
bike thinking that there was something there. So it would let her put her in reverse, but then as soon as she hit the accelerator, it would just click back into park because it thinks it's going to hit something.
We
So like I
had,
had to, she did it like 2 or 3 times, and I'm like, oh, I think it. Like I was just standing there, and I'm like, oh, I think it's this. I'm like, well, let's take your bike off. I took the bike off, and she backed out of the spot. We put it back on. She's like, oh, that must have been it.
yeah.
Dude,
So if anybody's listening, if you have rear active braking on your car and you have any kind of a trailer option on your vehicle at the time, like a trailer, a bike rack, whatever, the way you fix that is you put the car in reverse and you'll actually see a little emblem that pops up in the left-hand corner. One of them
Hmm.
is for turn off the sonar noise. The other one is
Right.
turn off rear active braking, and it says RAB. And you just press and hold it, and it'll turn off the RAB so you can use bike rack accessories and stuff like that. But
Right. Yeah,
yeah,
I
when
told her, I'm like, she's like, there's got to be a way to turn it off. I'm like, I'm sure there is, but this was the fastest way to get around it there.
yeah, and yeah, when that first came out, we did have one car that got towed in, and it still had like all six bicycles still on the bike rack, and it was towed in from the beach, and they're like, "Hey, car wouldn't back up. The transmission's garbage."
I have a video like that. I forgot to put out. I need to put that out.
Yeah, because that's
I
kind of
couldn't
what it
get it
sounds
out
like.
of.
Because it'll move like I don't know 6 inches or something, and then it
Yeah,
just you hear it kind of sounds like a grinding sound, and then it'll just stop.
yeah. It's the ABS kicking in, setting.
No, I think it sounds like the transmission.
Yeah, it makes like a horrible grinding noise, and that's
Yeah.
actually that's the hydraulic control pump for the brake control module that would
Oh, is
be
that what it is?
that is part of your ABS system, and it's firing the hydraulic actuators at about 60 times a second. So it sounds like a
But Baja, I gotta get going, bro.
yeah, yeah,
Gotta
let's
get-
kill it, man. It's late. It's 11 o'clock.
Yeah, I didn't realize
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
that
My
late.
daughter won't go back to bed now.
Yeah,
I
thanks
gotta
for
go.
coming on, Sergio. It's good to
Yeah,
talk to you in person, man.
yeah. I'll talk to you guys later. I gotta go.
All right, y'all have a good night.
Bye.
All right. Oh, hey. Yeah,
Later, Baja.
man, I've been with Subaru for 10 years, man. So, yeah, I saw him on my morning stream today. So, good to have you here on the late stream. We're going to kill it. I want to thank everybody for showing up today. We made a couple of members, we made some new friends, and this was a really good turnout. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming on, and have a good night. Thanks for keeping up. Sorry for keeping you up so late.